Adesso passiamo a una relazione estremamente interessante e ho il piacere di chiamare al tavolo Maggen, che è il responsabile della conservazione dei volumi del Israel Museum di Gerusalemme, che ci presenterà un po' le legature medievali e premiedievali nelle collezioni appunto del Israel Museum e in particolare si concentrerà poi sul lavoro di restauro di due di questi straordinari volumi che sono conservati all'Israel Museum, quindi il codice di Aleppo, che è del X secolo, e il Mahzor di Norimberga del XIV secolo. Qui avremo anche, credo, molte immagini e quindi avremo una relazione veramente molto affascinante. Grazie Michael, ti do senz'altro la parola.
Grazie mille. Signore e signori, buona giornata e shalom. Sono molto emozionato e onorato a partecipare in questo convegno che è stato organizzato dalla Fondazione I Beni Culturali Ebraici in Italia, e in questo caso voglio anche ringraziare la Fondazione per l'aiuto, per mi ha fatto venire qui in Italia. E voglio anche ringraziare la mia buona amica Anna Di Castro di Molanciano, che è una buona amica di tanti anni fa, e lei era veramente il suo idea di chiamarmi e mi ha fatta interessante a partecipare in questo convegno. Grazie ancora enorme che lei per lei, e così la mia moglie che sta con noi qui non possiamo dormire per strada. E questo mi va un vecchio ricordo che 42 anni fa, quando ho cominciato a studiare la patologia del libro qui a Roma, se qualcuno mi offrirà una idea che fra 40 anni vengo a Roma a fare una presentazione verbale, la prima cosa che lo chiedo il nome di grappa che lui aveva la stessa giornata. Comunque in questo punto faccio un switch e comincio a parlare in inglese, così anche la mia moglie che sta con noi possa capire quello che vi racconto. Allora, I was very fortunate in my professional life to deal with iconic and important manuscript from beginning of the human history. Start with the Dead Sea Scrolls, the time of the Christ. Then later on with the Aleppo Codex from the 10th century, which it's the complete Bible and the earliest one in Hebrew. And then to medieval manuscript as the Nuremberg manuscript that you'll see in the next few slides. Later on, I dealt also with other important documents, such as the remains of the Ilan Ramon diary that died in the mission of NASA in 2003. Unfortunately, these days I'm involved in conserving also notebooks of that were found with the soldiers that died after the 7th of October. If we'll have time, I have many slides. I can show you some images of that. However, before we start everything, I want you to see this book, which is called The Archaeology of Medical Bookbinding by Zmirai. He is our real bookbinding guru. And in the... doesn't work? Okay, so Zmirai tells us that in 1949, a group of archaeologists had a very important finding in Naj Hammadi, which is near Luxor in Egypt. A group of archaeologists found a few booklets, about 6 or 7 booklets that contains papyri, altogether binded with information written in Old Greek and Latin, mostly religious stuff, Gnostic one. And the important aspect I want to show you is the binding of these small books. And technically you can see the scheme, how the pages were bound together in this spatial cover. So just looking at the timeline of informatic system development, we can see that until 200 AC, the informatic technology system based on one plan. Everything was written on one plan. Since Naj Hammadi, it changed the course of the technological system, informatic systems, and manuscripts contain much more information and much more data in their content the way how today we move the screens in the cellular phone is actually an old mark of the initial the regular changing pages of that we do in manuscript. Please go to the website. This is us. Okay, so as we can see in this slide, you can roll right to left and make it larger. A project of digitization of manuscript allows us to watch them online with details and very fine details, as this example of Aleppo Codex. Okay, we'll go back to the original PowerPoint. We'll start with the Aleppo Codex, and it's, as I say, it's the earliest manuscript in Hebrew with the complete Bible, if we can see it. But before that, I'll give you another information. Since the clay tablets were found for 3000 before Christ, dimensions of the manuscript changed during the course of the time. This is the Nuremberg Mahzor. As you can see, me and my colleague carrying it because it weighed 28 kilos. To the small dots that you see on the finger, which is the smallest copy of the Bible on a chip of a silicon, was printed in the Polytechnion in Haifa, was meant to send by a NASA shuttle to the space to diffuse our Bible over the unknown territories. So during the 2019, the Israel Museum opened its gates in order to inaugurate an exhibition with that spatial technological innovation. So you can see the few pics of the Israel Museum campus, and the Dead Sea Scrolls are just beside, and the Bible was called Nano Bible. The Nano Bible can be read with a spatial device, and the spatial font was invented by the scientists in the Polytechnion in order to print the Bible on the silicon chip. So you can see how it was presented, this small dot, and in a second you'll see the spatial device that you could see the text. Okay, so we'll go to the Aleppo Codex. Everything started there. Then in Tiberius in the 9th century, I asked from the AI to bring a photo. That's what he could find for me. I was very upset with the pages that he put on the image, so I, by myself, changed it to Aleppo Codex page. As you can see also, the Lago of Tiberiade is not as what you see in the image. The second manuscript history, the Nuremberg Mahzor. Mahzor means that a book with praise which repeats themselves during the entire year, and they repeat it in a way every year in the same holidays. Contains 521 pages, and it's the biggest manuscript in, I guess, in the Hebrew history. The scriber, we know the name of the scriber because he left us some hints about his name. You can see the no, never mind. You can see on the slides, on the right side of the slide, dots that are, or arrows that are indicates, the first letter of his name. His name was Matania. So every time he found he crossed the name M or T or N, he mentioned it. So therefore we could find, and know that Matania was his name. In Aleppo Codex, we know perfectly that the writer was Ben Boya. And then we ask ourselves why the manuscript is so important. The Aleppo Codex was written in the time of the highest peak of the Hebrew grammar, and all the streams of traditions in Jewish societies were gaining who is the more accurate of how to write the Bible. So what you can see in a detail is a column of part of the Old Testament, and the letters on the right side of the text, they are like a code. They were put by the scriber to notify how many times this word appears in the same way in the Bible. And the upper small letters, the commentaries, there he mentioned also few bibliographic information. So this was in the 10th century, and a person with such knowledge, without computer and hard disk, I guess he would be in a position of the Cathedra of the head of Cathedra of linguistic knowledge. However, the Maimonides during the 12th century, when he wrote his books about his Halachot LaTorah, which means the law of the interpretation for the Bible, he mentioned that this book is the most accurate. This is the canon, how to write perfectly the Bible. And for that, the Israeli institution decided to give him an honor and printed his name on a bill of 1,000 shekels. Of course, later on, the shekel lost its value, and I guess that the Maimonides wasn't so happy about this. The Nuremberg Mahzor, it's important for its textual and craftsmanship values. The Nuremberg Mahzor from the 14th century contains chants which are very, very, very rare. You can find them only in this manuscript. And more rare than that are the commentaries that you can see in the detail, which are interpretations of the source for these chants. The craftsmanship of the Mahzor is also very fine. You can see the richness of vegetal and symmetrical design, as well the usage of very rare and expensive pigments. We can find there the blue, which is the lapis lazuli, or the cinnabar, the red, and pure gold for the initials, the letters itself. The codex arrived to the Israel Museum during the 1982. I was a young conservator, only 5 years after finishing my studies in Italy. I was invited to the director office. You can't see me in the pictures because I took them, but it arrived from another institute to the Israel Museum with a very special protected Barclays safe moving vehicle. In order to understand what in order to summarize its condition, I had to do kind of a research to find out about its physical condition. And as many talked here about recovering, I immediately identified that the cover that covers the manuscript, it's a new one. Actually, it was done when the manuscript arrived to Israel in 1957 from Aleppo. Taking apart the manuscript, the cover, you can see details of the backbone of the thread that are showing the sections of the manuscript. And later on, I refer to this, comparing it to the Nuremberg Mahzor. The Nuremberg Mahzor as well suffered from backbone from problems of bindings, as the back part of it was torn already when it arrived to as a long loan to the Israel Museum. Removing the back, the glues from the backbone of the book could reveal a lot of information about its condition. And this is the way we remove the glues. We put some kind of a poultice and dissolving the glues. And then you can see already the underlayer, under the binding, you can see already the line of the first binding that was done. Speaking about the craftsmanship, we weren't happy also with the craftsmanship itself of the book binding profession wasn't to its max. It was kind of, let's say, I would say, kind of not really the best book binding it you'll find in the 14th century examples. And if you take an example of 14th century binding, you can see and compare it to what we found. So the Aleppo Codex is not really following the let's say, the fine binding, nor the Nuremberg itself. You can see that the lines are not aligned and a lot of threads are running outside, and which means the binding is not stable in some ways. In order to summarize the work of the condition of the Aleppo Codex, I summarize all the defects and all the problems that I found it from conservation point of view on the facsimile page that or book that I was asked to work with, and I made kind of a chart with all the phenomena that needs to be addressed, such as tears, losses, and etc. I was mostly disturbed with the ink condition of the manuscript. And you can see on the slides the word Israel with different condition of ink, and this doesn't suggest anything to the condition of Israel today, which is not as best as this ink, but something needs to be to address in order to stabilize the problems of the ink. Well, we speak about iron gall ink, or inchiostro ferrogallico. It's basically a very acidic ink, and the phenomena that we see resemble to what happens after a flood in the desert. The water washed the earth, the upper layer is wet and then dries quickly and fractures. The phenomena that happens in the manuscript is a little bit similar, because we call it the iron gall ink, the vitriol ink, which is actually a combination between organic materials, which are the galls. You can see galls of oak and galls of pine tree there, and the vitriol, which is an iron sulfate. It's a very common material you can find in chemical products. So we mix both material together in a aqueous solution, and the reaction between organic materials and iron sulfate creating the ink itself. Of course, its chemistry is much more complicated, and I won't go into this in details. But many parts of the iron sulfate combines with the acidities of the iron galls and creating acid values, which then it's like, a person that's sitting on a trunk of a wood and sawing the trunk that he sits on. That's how the inks react in the long run of years. Parchment is also very vulnerable material. We found in manuscript stains for remains of food and wine stains, and this is me some times ago, and also effects of the environment, which are typical to the many manuscripts. We find sometimes problems of hydrolysis of the parchment, and or parchment itself that wasn't kept very well and got mechanical damages, as this poor page. Reducing stains in parchment sometimes involved with what we call enzymatic process. We use saliva in order to clean a lot of the stains, and as you can see in this example. And I had to, I must tell you that I got affirmation from the chief rabbi of Israel to spit on the Bible without being arrested. I was mostly concerned with the effect of the red stain on the left side of the manuscript. And as you can see, it was believed that this was a cause of hydrolysis after a fire broke in the synagogue of Aleppo in 1949, when the pogrom was conducted against the Jewish community. However, I found a picture from the 19th century in the British Library showing that the manuscript already in the 19th century had that kind of stain. So in order to, I had another idea that this stain was caused by fungus, by kind of microorganism activity, and I found a microbiologist in the Hadassah Medical Center in Israel. We proceeded a very convincing research and found that real aspergillus was the cause for that phenomena. I was very surprised to find that aspergillus carried my name. In order to stabilize the ink, I had to conduct practical research how to consolidate the ink. What I actually did, I took a modern ink, I dried it out to fractures, and then I put it on parchment clips, new ones, and I said, now I have to stabilize them back into the parchment. I made a glue from the parchment clips, actually gelatin, chicken soup if you want. And these are the first experiment that I did. Finally, I found how much I need, solution in concentration of parchment size in order to consolidate the fractured ink. And here you can see me, sometimes something like 36 years ago, working on a special device. We call it a vacuum table. We put the leaves of the parchment on the table and spray it with the industrial air gun. However, after I won't go into much details, but after the process, the parchment is very wavy because it absorbs a lot of humidity. So we have method called panel stretching, and I'm stretching the parchment on that panel. Today many colleagues are against this process because they are they believe that this can sometimes damage the parchment. After doing something like 280 pages, I couldn't find any page that was damaged for this. And you can see that before and after the result, and judge with your eyes. Speaking about the Nuremberg, it has less drastic, I would say, defects and damages. The cover was lost. The cover was in a bad condition in the backbone, and I immediately noticed that the backbone was sometimes in the past added, and we found also the name of the bookbinder in Germany who did that job. His name was something Reinhard, bookbinder in Nuremberg, probably in the 19th century. He was very proud of his job, and he left, his etiquette there. And in order to remove his job, which he attached with tons of gelatin glue, I had to use what we call steam generator. It's a machine which produces steam nearly 128 degrees with pressure, and I could release all the glues that he put there in very generous way. However, you can see that beside, you can see still the original small circles. These are the joints that were done in the first bookbinding, which was very important. Therefore, we call bookbinding archaeology. It's like actually digging inside layers of materials. So this is how it was done. You can see also in details the joints that I attach in order to prolong the joints to the outer boards, what we call press boards. And in a small research that was done, a paleographic one, it was found that parts of the quires were mislocated. So it was a good occasion to put the book in its original order, and those pages were as well flattened in panel stretch process and put back into their locations. 6 pages of the manuscript which were missing were found and were inserted again into the manuscript. And you can see me during the work. This is the backbone after the removing and putting a new additional parts in order to reattach it back to the press boards. And I'll go shortly also for a small corner repair. You can see the inside, the core of the book of the press board was damaged. Usually the corners are mostly vulnerable and are likely to be damaged. So we do kind of cartonnage in order to fill the missing part. Then this is covered by leather, and here it's the before and after. Me and my colleague, the curator, in order to manipulate this book, this book can't be taken by one person. It's very heavy. So I designed a special box which you can put the Mahzor inside, and you can carry it with safely. 2 people are carrying it with these handles. And then when it comes to, let's say, art historian or people who are researching the manuscript, they can use it as a cradle without risking the integrity of the fragile manuscript. If you are going to if you wish to come to Israel to visit in the Shrine of the Book, this is the way you have to do. After you approaching the entrance of the Shrine of the Book, there is in the second floor the Aleppo Codex, and today it's there on permanent exhibition. But what actually you see, you don't see the book itself. You just see the upper cover, the upper page. I built some kind of a maquette, and every half a year, the team there they are in routine way replacing the upper part of the exhibition. So there how it looks like in a schematic way. In 2024, we did a project of digitization of the manuscript, and it's online. We went through that slide just at the beginning of the presentation, and it's a very important project for the documentation of the manuscript. When this is the website, if you want to see it, and at this point, I would like to thank you for your attention. Just go back to the PowerPoint. The last slide, please. The last one.
1 second.
L'ultima. You know, the Aleppo Codex lost 1/3 of its content. I think the first. This is the first one. Go to the last one. And there were many attempts in the past to bring missing pages back to the manuscript. Many pages or parts of the manuscript were taken by the people of Haleb when they evacuate Haleb after the community disintegrated. And there are, I know at least 2 cases that the pages were replaced back and are now part of the manuscript itself. And my last slide was a small request. Yeah. This is my address. If anyone finds, a page, send it to me, please. And I promise you also to show you some slides of the recent project that I'm doing with notebooks that are very important for the families of soldiers that were killed in the in the 7th of October war. So this is Lieutenant Yoav Melayev, who is can you go into the link, the hyperlink? Lieutenant Yoav Melayev was a young officer. He wasn't a combat officer. He stayed the last, end of the week at the base he was in charge of communication and electronics. And he stated in order to replace another officer when the attack started, and he took his gun and went to the gate in order to defend the fortress that they were there. And he was wounded, and during his last, no one could, of course, help him at that time. He was seriously wounded, lost a lot of blood, and he wrote in his small notebook few words for his parents. I think very, very important for the parents. So can you run the slide, please? His father brought me the notebook and gave it in a very emotional way. And I had to do some conservation processes in order to stabilize the condition of the notebook. And this is after conservation. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, that's enough. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if there are some questions of this, I'll be happy to answer.
Yes. Okay.
During the tea time.
Ok, allora, thank you very much, grazie mille per questa bellissima esposizione. È stata una prima sessione veramente molto molto intensa e molto molto densa. Michael è disponibile a rispondere a qualche domanda eventualmente dal pubblico. Vedo già una Michaela che vuole già fare una domanda.
Ha dato un risultato animale o vegetale, e in quel caso se è animale che animale. Le colle delle legature.
Le colle delle legature, sì. Sì. Mi sembra che non l'abbiamo fatto un'analisi chimici per identificare se è un proteina, sì? Ma posso dire che dal punto di vista dell'esperienza che ce l'ho, è simile a quasi tutte le colle animali che io conosco. È molto duro come, sai, con materiale, deve aprirlo con tanta calori e diventa veramente subito molto morbido con calore. E c'è anche, con l'animale c'è un senso molto, c'è un odore molto speciale. Allora io pensavo che questo basterà per identificare il tipo della colla?
Nel caso del conservimento ci sono dei problemi rispetto alla scala, perché fare il microfono
Perché
sì. Nel caso della colla animale se ci sono problemi di
di
Halakha. Di Halakha.
di Aleppo. Ho capito. Allora, perciò deve essere magari la DNA, perché sapere se, diciamo, l'hanno usato, diciamo, colle che non sono, che non sono kasher. Sì, ma questo non posso dire, non posso sapere.
Ci sono altre domande in sala? Allora a questo punto ringrazio nuovamente Michael per questa splendida relazione. Come dicevo, è stata una sessione molto molto intensa. Adesso ci prendiamo un attimo di respiro. Nella sala qua accanto abbiamo organizzato un coffee break. Vi invitiamo tutti a prendere un caffè o a dissetarvi e ci ritroviamo qua tra un quarto d'ora per la seconda sessione. Grazie a tutti per l'attenzione.